As promised, as per usual, I did say on my community post I was going to review this show, and the first two episodes have dropped, and I did watch them, which surprisingly they were kind of quick, but after looking through the book, yeah, some chapters were. So, small spoilers going into for characters and all that. If you haven't read the books and all that, please kick off now. Mrs. Dodds, which she's briefly in the episode. She's played fine, I guess. Her Fury form was all right. I thought it was a little quick. Going through the book chapters, I think she had more to do with things, so I was kind of surprised how she's just very quickly um, came off. Yeah, she does eventually will probably come back, but still, I found that very surprising. I will say special effects wise, she was done all right. You know, the I think that her Fury form was pretty cool. I like some of the changes. Grover, I'll say he's all right. The actor who plays him did pretty well in the role, playing a little bit shy and timid, but also brave when he needs to be and he cares. I think that was done pretty well. I think some changes I wasn't sure about. Um, that I was kind of like I think felt like they fast tracked things. And I'll get into that later. I'll say that he does it well. He's in the episode a little bit more in the second one than the first, but how that him and Percy met, it was pretty cool because you really don't get a I think you don't really get how they met in the books, so this was pretty cool to see um his character, how he meets Percy and how he interacts with a few others, and Clarice. Okay, she makes one appearance near the end of the beginning of the first episode, or I think no, the second episode, and then more on. Um, and I honestly, the actress who plays her does it all right. She's kind of she plays her pretty well. I had to go back and reread the books on the some of the stuff with her. I felt some things were a little weird, but then I went back and was like, yeah, I don't know, it makes sense. Um, with the way she is with Percy and the whole thing, I thought that was all right. I wouldn't say it's executed perfectly, but it's like a small rivalry there that's pretty all right and just there. you know. I think it was done well after rewatching episode 2 a little bit more. Um, I'll say some things from the scenes from the show are kind of like really good done from the books. So for me, I'll say Luke, when he first appears, I honestly found it weird and jarring that with the black hair, but I got a little used to it later on. But I will say sometimes I will say his scar does not go in and out. I will say the main trios, like how they connect with one another. And what I mean by that is there's not really an episode that's connecting them yet, but like how they interact with Percy separately with Annabeth, and I'll get into her in a minute. And Grover, it's all right. I think it feels a little bit jarring in some areas because as a fan of the movies, yeah, the movies were not perfect. And the chemistry with the three leads was a little bit. I'm more of a fan of the first one, tone wise, compared to the second one. Well, the second one was all right, but I mean, I think for me, personally, I think there's like some elements that I feel they could have worked on. I think Percy having Riptide was a little fast tracked. I thought it was weird, but I was like, like it kind of takes from the movies in a way, even though Riordan has never seen them, which is odd, but whatever. Um, after watching it and rereading the books first, like there's some elements I do like that were done kind of okay and pretty cool. The bathroom bit, the 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 scene with the fountain was good. I'll go into more detail about some stuff I didn't. I'll nitpick later. Um, uh, I'll say, comparatively, like this show feels, if it's all right. I think it takes a mixture of what did well with the movies, what did well, with the books, and kind of merges the two. I would have loved it to be animated, but we we can't always get what we want. It so far is showing promise. I think the capture the flag fight was pretty good. I think there were some funny moments, like stuff that was added in for the show, like the line with Dionysus trying to pretend to be Percy's father, or the a few other stuff that was just added. And it was like, choreography wise, it was pretty good to see. I think that there should be a lot more danger there, and how it ends was, I felt, a bit fast tracked, where Annabeth pushes him in the water. I thought that was kind of just a little bit dumb, and I'll get into that in a bit. Some of my takeaways, what stuff I didn't like. Um, Walter Sobek does a pretty good job as Percy. I will say some of his lines do feel a bit flat. I don't know, maybe, I think maybe it's just me, but I think, I think Percy should be played with a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit more, jokety, but he's like, some of it feels like he's trying to be serious, and I think it works, and then sometimes it shouldn't, where he should be more comedic and play things with a certain amount of sarcasm, like, like where he was with, like, Ryan Reynolds. That's kind of why I like the show so far. I think there's a lot of things that I think they need a bit of work, and they need some time on, because I think for me, there's things that I think need work, and they just don't work for me. They needed a little bit more time in the oven. But that'll be saved towards the end for my nitpicks and my more whatever section. I will say, action wise, tone wise, some things are all right, and then some things I feel they just don't work as much, or don't work as, very well. Um, because I think with Walter, he does a very good job as playing Percy. I do like, some of the cast does pretty well, like the actor who plays Mr. Brunner does it pretty well. Mr. D, even though he doesn't get really a whole lot of screen time, he does it pretty good. The whole Peter Johnson straight away. He sets the tone for his character. I will say, some lines I think could have done a little bit more working, or a little bit more tweaking in the delivery department, I think. And that's really more where some of my gripes are in delivery, for a few characters and a lot of different things. As a fan, you know, um, I honestly, okay, this is where I'm going to get a little bit nitpicky and a little bit, just everything. So first off, I'm gonna nitpick some things that I did not like going away from the show. The first thing is, I like Gabe, the actor who plays him, but I do not like how he comes across. Less of, yes, he comes across as a sleaze bag, but you don't really go away hating him completely. Yes, he's like an annoyance, but you don't walk away from him, with hate. And I think, like some of his line delivery, he seems like that annoying uncle or drunken stepdad, which, but he's not overly drunk to where he's an ass. And I thought, like, that was the way Gabe was kind of made out to be in the books. And I'm going in where he says, what are you doing, Percy? Like, yeah, like that's something like, yeah, he's an ass. Like there's like a little bit of care there, which there shouldn't be, I think. Going in, there are some scenes I thought were a little weird with Sally being out there, having the water on her face. Maybe there's some explanations for that. But I just didn't like that. It felt very out of place and very weird. The actress playing Sally was all right. I think some elements of way she said, there's some things I just felt were weird. I The bit with Percy on the top of the school because he saw a Pegasus, or some of the other stuff. I think there should have been more of like different stuff, like the lines from the book where they went to a aquarium and he accidentally pulled the switch and they dunked us all in. That would have been a nice little thing to add. It's a shame they didn't. I think it would have worked better than some of the scenes that we got with young Percy. Okay. Going into the character I did not like in the slightest, and it's just, I don't know if it's just me, but the actress who plays Annabeth, I'm torn, because some things I did like, and then there's a lot of stuff I just didn't like at all. Basically, her interactions with Percy are very flat, I feel, and I'm hoping that, like, because there's more interactions with them, I'm hoping that gets fixed later. And another thing I didn't like, and I don't know if for sure, and I have to reread The Lightning Thief again, that Grover was the one that tattled on Percy and had him expelled. And there was a few scenes I thought were cut and I thought was a little bit weird. Also fast tracking the show with Sally explaining about the Greek gods and stuff. I thought I was a little torn on because it makes sense also, but I also didn't like it at the same time because I'm a little torn on it because you walk away knowing like you're basically getting a thing of like, yeah, we already know this world, so we're like already establishing it, but it feels rushed. I will say some elements of the camp stuff was fine. Some of the elements of like funny moments kind of were funny, like the some bits I thought did make me chuckle a bit, but I honestly thought there should have been more of those. And I also think there should be more time for Percy to be less, serious and more, more kind of funny and more like that, more the way he is in the books. And I think that was the biggest way, or my biggest complaint going into the show, and my biggest complaint watching it was some of the line delivery felt off. It felt off-putting. I will say special effects wise, it's all right. It's not the best thing in the world. I'll say it's good for what it is. I liked it going in and watching it. But mainly going into nitpicks, I honestly just did not like some of the line delivery. Some of the characters are fine. Like, I think Gabe was all right, but I just think that he needed time. They needed to build him more of an asshole that he is, the way he is in the books. And I think the movies did that in spades. And it justifies when Sally kills him at the end, which, spoiler warning for the books. But going in, I felt that they honestly did a okay job of translating the books, but I felt that they needed to work on the line delivery and just how some things come across. And that was just my big takeaway. I'll say it was an okay first 2 episodes. I hope it gets only better from here. Some of the like little dream stuff with like Kronos, I think that the voice they used was nailed for him. And some of the other stuff was all right. Luke making it very clear she's like a little sister. I think that was taken from the books. I don't know, but yeah. 7 out of 10 for the first few episodes. I might have to rewatch it again for the first 2. I'll try to review the next ones when they release. And Yeah, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that jazz. Peace out, everybody. Bye bye.